Hello and welcome to Taiwan Talks. I'm Ying Kavat. China lays out its vision for Asian peace and prosperity.
共同做亚洲安全的维护者，始终把亚洲长治久安的前途命运掌握在自己手中，让和平薪火代代相传。
And Taiwan Foreign Minister Joseph Wu says US support to Ukraine will help prevent China moving against Taiwan. Today we ask how Taiwan and other so-called frontier states may be connected, why VP-elect Bi-khim toured Czech Republic, Poland and Lithuania. And as Tokyo is set to upgrade 16 ports and airports, we ask what's happening on the broader frontier of both sides of the fight. How Beijing's own actions on current and former Chinese frontier lands gives us clues to its strategy. Joining us today are Charles Wu, National Chengchi University Department of Diplomacy Professor and Chair, and Yuan I, National Chengchi University Institute of International Relations Adjunct Research Fellow. A very warm welcome to you both on the show. Charles, let's start with you first. So let's discuss the comments about security in Zhao Leji's speech. Let me just phrase for you. We should jointly maintain security in Asia. We must always keep in our own hands the future of lasting peace and security in Asia.
I think Zhao, this time his statements in Boao mentioned about security, stability, because China is facing a serious issue in domestic economic downturns.
Oh, so it's a distraction?
Yes, distraction, it's rhetorics, because they are losing FDIs.
Right.
If we look at the FDI last year, 2023, it's only $33 billion. Comparing in 2022, it dropped 83%.
So going back to the comment about security, also, jointly manage the economy, jointly manage security in Asia. But if we think about which countries were actually in attendance, Kazakhstan, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Nauru, obviously they're not in Asia, but Nauru and Dominica. Countries like Taiwan or Japan or Philippines or South Korea, how would they be reading that comment about jointly maintaining security in Asia, passing down this peace from generation to generation? Professor Yuan, let's move on to Foreign Minister Joseph Wu's comments to the New York Times. He said that a halt in US arms shipments to Ukraine would embolden China to move against Taiwan and also fuel propaganda that the US is an unreliable partner. So he said, when people ask us, is it okay for the United States to abandon Ukraine? I think that means to focus on China. The answer is no, because the world is interconnected. What do you make of that comment?
I think it also reflects about the rhetorical nature of the politicians' remarks in general. I think what matters the most for the analogy between the two cases. That is, compare U.S. relation with the Ukraine versus the U.S.-Taiwan relation. One has to be careful about the two levels again. That is always involve U.S. domestic politics in the past. I think that during the civil war of China, I think the Truman administration experienced a very, very similar experience as the Biden is encountered with. That is the domestic politics, the division between U.S. politics, between Republican and on one hand also on the Democrats. Yeah. So the good news is, I think on the U.S.-Taiwan relation, I think the bipartisan support seems to be on a prevailing wing.
Yeah. So why do they not want to continue to support Ukraine? What is the argument on that side?
As I said, domestic first generational change. The 30% of the congressional leader of the House of Representatives, I think they belong to the new generation. I think their value differ some of their older generation. This is a generational gap. Another reason has to do with their priority about the other issues, including the Biden's administration dealing with the southern borders. So for some Republicans, they consider that matters the most. That should be, comes before anything else.
But Biden did, bend to those demands and committed to improving the border. Is this more about that they do not believe, as Joseph Wu said, that it is not right to abandon Ukraine if you want to deter China? Is it that they don't believe that?
I think that on the overall scale, the Biden administration doesn't want to coping with a multi-front crisis at one time. So I think Biden administration already demonstrated is a firm support, all right, step by step. What matters the most is discrepancy between adding more ammunition to the fighting of the Ukraine at this moment. I think with the forthcoming presidential election, the domestic politics kicks in.
Okay, Charles. So what do you think effect it would have for Joseph Wu from Taiwan to say to the Americans, look, don't stop the armaments, the arms to Ukraine, because this will only embolden China?
I think we still need to go back to the U.S. domestic politics. I agree with Professor Yuan, the two levels. Because right now Republicans, they want to use this kind of opposition powers. Everything Biden said they want to oppose. Mm-hmm. And also we look at Republicans. There used to be a party support, we call expansion or intervene in international affairs or conflicts. Mm-hmm. However, during the Trump administration, the Republicans changed 180 degrees. Mm-hmm. They become, we call American first policy. They are doing more, we call American exceptionalist. Mm-hmm.
So you believe it's just opposition for opposition's sake. You don't actually believe that they think that it is right to prioritize China by essentially abandoning Ukraine?
I think it's very important. We need to separate these two cases. First, Ukraine, the case of Ukraine or the case of Taiwan, whether they are equal. The war of Ukraine is already started. The United States, what they can do is they keep putting money or fires into Ukraine. However, it will be a hole for the whole European continent. Mm. But Taiwan is another case because we know the Biden administration or the U.S., the past presidents, they use we call it the strategic ambiguity. They try to prevent a overall or total conflicts or war occur across the relations. So we need to separate these two cases. This will give us more insights and more ideas how we can tell the Americans, Taiwan, you still need to help us, either give us weapons or arms to strengthen our not only capability, but also willingness to defend ourselves. Because only this you can prevent that war occurs.
Okay. Now, authors Jakob Grigiel and A. Vice Mitchell argue in Foreign Policy that Ukraine, the Middle East and Taiwan are part of an unstable or unquiet frontier, and that the reputation acquired or lost on one frontier matters on another. Let's have a look at this quote from that article. What follows from this is that it pays to stop aggression at the frontier early. When and where it happens first, how the initial fires are dealt with, will have a big bearing on whether they spread into a wider system crisis. Ignoring the early ones in the hopes of keeping powder dry for later ones is dangerous, and the best strategy is to decisively sequence the frontiers. So, Professor Yuan, how well do you think the authors made this argument about this interconnected frontier? I mean, I sense from both of you, you said that we must separate Taiwan from Ukraine. These authors are arguing something quite different.
I think the authors' argument are well taken. Looking from a much larger perspective, I think it incorporates never has before that he dealt with the simultaneous about a time-honored conflict that the United States confronted in the past, including the U.S. confrontation with Iran and the U.S. confrontation with China, and also U.S. confrontation with Russia. I think putting together, I couldn't agree with more with the author's general assessment of his treatment of the genesis of this ongoing confrontation for the years to come. I agree with you. I agree with the author's assessment.
Okay, Charles, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, all this kind of argument reflect a very important thing is how Americans fulfill their security commitment. I think not only Ukraine or Taiwan, all the countries share similar values with the United States, they are all looking at that. So I think the main arguments and logic in this paper is the author want to try to provide that U.S. should fulfill their commitments. No
So
matter
it's a little bit like what Joseph Wu was saying. He was saying that otherwise it would fuel that Chinese propaganda.
Yes.
That the U.S. cannot be relied upon.
Yes, but however, we also need to go back to think again, what is American core interest? Because the abandoning issues or abandoning Taiwan is not a current new topic. This already been debated for decades. And from the American scholars, they have different, group of scholars. Some agree that they need to commit.
Okay, no, but I don't think what's in question is abandoning Taiwan. I think what they're arguing is that Ukraine cannot be abandoned because in the end that will impact on Taiwan.
Yeah, I mean, this is a similar thing. If you abandon Ukraine, you will send a signal to Taiwan. But we probably will just help you half and half. And if you feel like, you don't fight for yourself or there's no chance for winning a war, we'll withdraw. So no matter it's for Ukraine or for Taiwan, security commitment is a very important issue. And we also need to go back to think what is American core interest. If their core interest is they want to develop a multi-front game of multi-front battles, then we need to look at the presidents, their ideas and their willingness to do this kind of multi-front battles. However, I think it's very difficult for the United States right now.
Yeah, I think Yuan I, my understanding was that the authors are saying that they cannot fight on multi-fronts. Therefore, there needs to be that you need to deal with the ones at hand, which are Israel and Ukraine. And if you cannot counter those smaller enemies, how can you possibly then go on to, winning over China, which is a lot larger opponent?
There are 5 rules, all right, according to the authors. I think the one has to, look at in of its totality. That is, the authors are realistic in a sense to gauge on the potential, and I mean that war is always possible. In that case, I think the one has to be guard against the pitfall that too naive reading about my side of your potential adversary, and also he also stressed on the preclusive defense. I found that is intriguing. Before war happening, that needs to have some preliminary measures to deal with, prevent the war from or the crisis from happening. I found that is very, very intriguing that one should also take into account that as reputation matters, meaning that being a war leader, the United States should always treat its reputation seriously. Otherwise, your allies will feel very unpleasant. I think that's what Joseph Wu tries to emphasize, to remind the U.S. that your reputation will be at stake should you do something.
Right. Let's take a look at VP-elect Bi-khim Hsiao. She's just finished a tour of Europe, meeting with parliamentary leaders in the Czech Republic, Poland and Lithuania. She also engaged with more than 30 lawmakers in the European Parliament in Brussels. According to Taiwan's foreign ministry, Hsiao emphasized Taipei's democratic alliance with European countries. Charles, what would you say were the strategic goals of this trip, and how can we see this strategy in light of perhaps the unstable frontier argument?
Okay, I think this time Bi-khim visits. This is the first time Taiwan's Vice President-elect to visit Europe before taking offices. So I think it's a very important landmark we achieved. She visited Czech Republic, Poland, and Lithuania. And those 3 countries helped us a lot. They donated vaccines to Taiwan during the pandemic. So it's our friends. So I think this kind of mutual benefits, and also the visit can increase the friendship between Taiwan and European countries. This is first thing. Second thing is we're all democratic countries. We share similar values. We are talking about why democracy, they are more likely to make alliances because they, like I say, they are like-minded. They commit to all the agreements or contract they want to, they sign. And also they share similar, we call the democratic peace.
So as we're talking about frontiers, does it matter where they are?
Yes.
Is this important?
Yes, important.
Yeah. Let's talk about them in terms of the frontier.
Yes, yes, very important. So they are also frontier, but they are just frontier in the European sides.
Right.
However, we are in the Asia side, Asia Pacific.
So against the Russian expansionism.
Yeah, we're against the expansion of authoritarianism. So I think this kind of not only practical but also symbolic missions, we can establish this kind of relationship with European countries.
Okay. Professor Yuan, so what are the implications of Taiwan, one frontier state in Asia, going to secure, cement relations with the frontier in Europe?
The Baltic states, those who are the small but sit at the forefront to confront with the USSR during the Hades Cold War era. So there is a strong legacy carried through by this very, very important elements. So the common element between those small states and also reckon with the Taiwanese position vis-a-vis of that Cold War era role.
Now, Japan is mulling upgrades to 5 airports and 11 ports for use during military emergencies, including a potential Taiwan contingency, according to the Mainichi Shimbun. Those included are Kitakyushu Airport off Kyushu, Naha Airport in Okinawa, the port of Kushiro in Hokkaido, and the port of Ishigaki in Okinawa, which is about 230 kilometers east of Taiwan. So, Charles, let me come to you. Japan is to Taiwan, this is what some people say, as Poland is to Ukraine. In your view, is Japan part of this frontier that Taiwan is also part of?
Yeah, I think the comparison between Japan and Poland is interesting. I think compare their status, their symbols, or even compare the security alignments, it's pretty similar. U.S. and Japan, I think, is a very strong and stable defensive alliance, which means they are we call a base, a security base for the East Asia securities. Right now, we can see U.S. and Japan, they are strengthening their kind of security agreements. Also, they want to bring Philippines into the game. So it's a 3 ways security agreements. Then why? We need to look at because there are probably a potential conflicts occur in this region. Not only East China Sea, but South China Sea will be a potential conflicts zone. I don't know when, but probably in the future. Because if you look at the Second Thomas Show, the issues, and also the Sandy K issues recently, there will be, I can say, a little bit dangerous in the coming next few months if Philippines and China, they don't know how to hold the fire. So I think Japanese government, Kishida, they are watching this one. United States also watching these issues. Marcos Jr. also, I think he knows how to handle. He just want, play around the games a little bit. Why he want to bring Japan and United States together, try to, using this kind we call foreign policy to strengthen his own reputation and also political survival in Philippines.
Yeah, Professor Yuan, you mentioned this earlier, perhaps most controversially. In the Grigil vs. Mitchell article, they argue that the value of frontier allies is that they create the potential for striking beyond the frontier line on the territory of the predator state itself. And then, because of this logic, what they're saying is that the frontier state should be armed heavily in order that they can actually strike the enemy territory. Now, this, of course, goes counter to the US's thinking and approach for both Ukraine and Taiwan.
There's a degrees of variation when it comes to offensive capability or versus defensive. And the nature of this posture evolve in accordance with the contingency. I think what matters the most for the United States strategists, they would rather to put some limits on the role to be played by these allies, whereas they reserve the room for more warfighting capability to itself. So there's a clear demarcation when it comes to the military postures.
Okay, but it's interesting, Japan, isn't it? They're about to purchase the Tomahawk missiles. As we also know in recent news, it's not coming from the US, but the Philippines is purchasing BrahMos cruise missiles. Taiwan obviously is developing its own because it cannot get those offensive missiles from the US. So in what we can actually see is in practice, these frontiers are hardening, aren't they? They are reinforcing. They are gaining the offensive capability.
Tactical wise, yes, but one has also be mindful about the items that Taiwan could get it. All right, I think it's a problematic. Each time we discuss about what kind of a weaponry system would be more suitable for Taiwanese defense. So overall, one still have to come back with the overall posture. That is, since Taiwan sits on the forefront of its geography, so Taiwan should face in earnest as its determination to coping with its challenges, regardless of what kind of a nature of the weaponry they could acquire abroad.
Okay. Now, the authors also say that once a power has been pushed out of a frontier territory, it will be hard for that power to re-enter. Let's also discuss China's so-called frontier lands, including those where it has been pushed out. Charles, what is Xi Jinping doing? What can we see that it's doing about those frontier lands? If we can show the map up again, that would be great. What would we say that Beijing's strategy is on its borders?
We can say China is surrounded a border with 14 countries. I think in history, there also even debate. In Qing Dynasty, there's debate whether you need to defend from the borders, the west side, or the east side from the oceans. And people support, there are some many the barbarians coming from the east side, west sides, and you need to defend the west border while the Western powers are coming from the east.
So China actually has been fortifying and building up the military capabilities of those borders.
Yes.
You would say that?
Yeah, but I mean, because the resource is limited. In Qing Dynasty, the budget is limited. So I think they did poorly. This is why they suffer from Western intervenes.
Yeah.
However,
but
right
under
now,
Xi, yeah.
But right now, Xi also facing pretty similar situation and phenomenon.
What, hardship? Not enough finances?
This is one thing. They have some, issues with Indian borders. We talk about this one, the territorial issues with India. On the east sides, the Taiwan, Japan, and also the United States, they forming a kind of fortress and alliances. In the Korean Peninsula, North Korea and South Korea, now they have issues. Let's look at the North Korea issues. I think North Korea, China used to use and also view Kim's family as a buffer zone in order to maintain the Western democracies getting into closer to China. So their support North Korea's political survival very strong. However, United States, they also want to, doing something in the Korean peninsulas. So China keep an eye on the Kim's family. However, they also feel worried about if the Biden administration or next presidents really want to play fires in the Korean peninsulas. So this is one frontier. Look at the cross relations. I think this is one thing China, they are really be cautious. No matter it's Trump or Biden, they are getting more closer to what we call the red zones of the Taiwan's issues. So how Xi handled this one, I think not only we look at their, we call the opportunities, their capabilities, but we also need to look at Xi's willingness and what kind of factors will influence with willingness. One is ages, another one is from domestic pressure.
Okay, so we're going to have to end it there. I'm sorry. Charles Wu and Yuan I, thank you so much for joining Taiwan Talks today. If you liked our show, please search for us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching the show today. Stay safe and see you next time.
There's so many things that I wish the world could see
It is amazing to watch this captain maneuver this giant ship.
It takes 3 days to cook this. The flavor is unbelievable, incredible.
And it's my turn to make something inspired by Chef Gore. It's going to be quite a challenge.
Can you imagine that?
It's surreal, yes, so real.
I can't give up. I got some ass kicking to do.
Nice move.
We're pushing each other to explore and experiment in new, different ways.
5, 4, 3, 2.
A warm welcome to Taiwan Plus News.
Exploring the issues that matter to you.
Not just to Taiwan, the whole world is watching.
很多时候是我们眼睛看不到的地方。
We might encounter mishaps and mistakes along the way. But at the end of the day,
It just transmits something straight from the heart. Yes.
谢谢 Cheers.
Bon appetit. It is about the fun, and it's about the glamour, and it's also about something much deeper than that.
Sometimes you just gotta seize the opportunity. You just gotta do it.
Have a place where you're appreciated for you exactly as you are, and where you can shine and be seen.
Start your weekend with a cup of coffee and a moment to reflect on what happened this week.
Hello and welcome.
We've got you covered, from defense and politics to high tech and the arts.
Not just to Taiwan, the whole world is watching.
You make the coffee, we make the news. Here's what happened on Taiwan Plus.